Have you ever imagined a man so powerful that, even though he could become the emperor of Rome, he refused the throne not just once, but 3 times? And what if I told you he wasn't the only one? Amidst the intrigues and power struggles, there were those who, surprisingly, did not want to be emperors. Today, we will explore the fascinating stories of the reluctant emperors, men who avoided the throne at all costs. Get ready to uncover the secrets and dilemmas of these Romans who, even when faced with the opportunity to rule the greatest empire of antiquity, chose to decline the supreme power. Stay with us and learn about these enigmatic figures and their unexpected reasons for rejecting the imperial destiny. The man who refused 3 times, Cincinnatus. Have you ever heard of someone who refused absolute power 3 times? Lucius Quinctius Cincinnatus, a name etched in history as a synonym for virtue and service to the Republic, was called upon to assume the dictatorship of Rome in times of crisis. His first refusal came when the senators, desperate for leadership during an invasion, found him plowing his field. He temporarily accepted, led Rome to victory, and, astonishingly, returned to his plow. The second occasion occurred a few years later, when Rome faced a new threat. Cincinnatus, once again called to lead, took command with efficiency and speed, resolving the military crisis. Once more, he handed back power and returned to his simple life, rejecting any titles or honors. The third refusal is less documented, but remains a legend that highlights his character. It is said that even with the offer of even greater power, he chose to remain in his humble condition, away from the political intrigues that dominated Rome. This episode reinforces the image of a man dedicated to duty and public service above all else. What makes Cincinnatus extraordinary is not only his reluctance to accept the throne, but the speed and efficiency with which he relinquished power once his task was completed. In a world where ambition and corruption were common, he stood out as a symbol of selfless service, inspiring future leaders, including George Washington, who also voluntarily gave up power. Cincinnatus represents an ideal of leadership that values the common good above personal interest. His life and decisions resonate to this day, reminding us of the importance of integrity and civic duty. In times of crisis, he emerged as a reluctant savior, whose legacy remains a beacon of virtue for all generations. His story is one of the most powerful in Roman tradition, reflecting the complexity of leadership and the true essence of public service. In an era dominated by rampant ambition, Cincinnatus is a rare example of humility and devotion to the greater good, an eternal inspiration for all who find themselves in positions of power. The philosopher in power, Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius, known as the philosopher emperor, was not born to be an emperor. He preferred a contemplative life and the study of Stoic philosophy. However, fate placed him on the throne, and his initial reluctance gave way to a reign marked by wisdom and deep reflection. Educated in philosophy from an early age, Marcus Aurelius valued virtue and reason above power. When he was chosen as the heir of Hadrian and then Antoninus Pius, he accepted the burden with a sense of duty, not ambition. During his reign, he faced barbarian invasions, plagues, and internal rebellions, all while writing his Meditations, a masterpiece of Stoic thought. His personal reflections, originally intended only for himself, became one of the most important philosophical works of antiquity, offering insights into leadership, morality, and human nature. Despite the challenges, Marcus Aurelius maintained his Stoic philosophy, ruling with justice and always seeking the common good. He saw power as a moral duty, not a privilege, and this shaped his leadership in a way that few other emperors could replicate. His initial reluctance transformed into a profound commitment to the responsibility that fate had imposed upon him. Marcus Aurelius was a man divided between his responsibilities as emperor and his personal desires for a philosophical life. This duality was reflected in his policies and decisions, always seeking a balance between the need to govern and his philosophical ideal of living in harmony with nature and reason. His reluctance to take the throne was compensated by his unwavering dedication to the well-being of his subjects and the maintenance of peace and order in the empire. Marcus Aurelius is often remembered as one of the 5 good emperors, whose rule brought stability and prosperity to Rome, even in times of crisis. The legacy of Marcus Aurelius goes beyond his political and military achievements. He left an enduring example of how power can be exercised with wisdom and compassion, guided by the philosophical principles he so cherished. His life and reign continue to inspire leaders and thinkers around the world, centuries after his death. The general who preferred war, Maximinus Thrax. Maximinus Thrax, a general born into a peasant family, never aspired to the imperial throne. His skill on the battlefield and his loyalty to Emperor Alexander Severus set him apart, but he always saw himself as a soldier, not a ruler. However, after Alexander's assassination, the Roman armies proclaimed Maximinus as emperor. Maximinus accepted the responsibility reluctantly. He was an efficient military leader, but politics and civil administration were not his strengths. His reign was marked by constant military campaigns, as he felt more at home on the battlefield than in the imperial palace. His reluctance to embrace the civil duties of the throne eventually alienated him from the Roman elites, leading to conspiracies that resulted in his assassination. Maximinus's life as emperor was short and turbulent. His governance style, focused on incessant military campaigns, exhausted both the army and the empire's resources. This militaristic approach reflected his lack of interest and skill in civil and administrative matters, creating a power vacuum that his enemies quickly exploited. Maximinus was a giant of physical strength and martial ability, but these qualities did not translate into success as an emperor. His reluctance to fully embrace the role of a civil ruler contributed to his downfall, highlighting the difference between military and political leadership. His story serves as a warning about the complexities and responsibilities of power. The legacy of Maximinus is one of the most intriguing, as it exemplifies how military skill does not necessarily equate to administrative competence. His story is a reminder that not all leaders are meant to govern, and that sometimes reluctance can be a sign of wisdom, even if the outcomes are tragic. In the end, Maximinus Thrax is remembered not only as a reluctant general turned emperor, but also as a tragic figure whose story on the challenges and pitfalls of power. His life and death illustrate the eternal tension between ambition and competence, a recurring theme in the history of reluctant leaders. The modesty of Publius Cornelius Scipio Nazica. Publius Cornelius Scipio Nazica is a fascinating figure in Roman history, known for his modesty and refusal of supreme power. Appointed consul during one of the most tumultuous periods of the Roman Republic, Nazica was invited to assume the throne on several occasions due to his political skill and moral leadership. However, Nazica always preferred to serve the Republic without the titles and honors sought by others. His refusal of the throne was not due to a lack of ability, but rather a deep belief in the importance of collective good over individualism. He played crucial roles in political and military crises, but always returned to the Senate as an equal, not a superior. His modesty and rejection of absolute power made him a rare example of integrity and public service. Nazica believed that true power lay in serving the common good and preserving the Republic's freedom against the temptation of despotism. He played a vital role in Roman politics, but always sought to maintain a low profile, avoiding the limelight and the traps of absolute power. His life and career are a testament to how modesty and selfless service can positively impact society. At a time when personal ambition often overshadowed the collective good, Nazica represented a rare ideal of leadership, focused on preserving Republican values and promoting the common good. Nazica's legacy continues to inspire leaders and thinkers. His story serves as a reminder that power does not need to be pursued at all costs, and that true leadership comes from humble and dedicated service to the community. In an era of selfishness and corruption, he stood out as a beacon of hope and integrity. Nazica is remembered as a guardian of Republican values in an age of unrestrained ambition. His refusal of the throne is a valuable lesson on the importance of modesty and dedication to the common good, an example that resonates through the centuries as a model of virtuous and selfless leadership. The man rejected by the people, Titus Quinctius Flamininus. Titus Quinctius Flamininus, an influential military commander and politician, is also known for his reluctance to accept the imperial throne. He was a celebrated general for his victories in Greece, where he liberated several city-states from Macedonian rule. Despite his military success, Flamininus preferred the quieter public life of the Roman Senate. When proposed to take the throne, Flamininus rejected the offer, citing his desire to continue serving as a common citizen. His reluctance was partly due to his belief in the Republic and his wish to avoid authoritarianism. He feared that accepting the throne could lead Rome down a path of dictatorship, something he abhorred. Flamininus is an example of principled leadership, where public service and the well-being of the Republic were more important than personal ambition. His rejection of the imperial throne is a testament to his integrity and commitment to republican ideals, even when the opportunity for supreme power was within his grasp. His career is marked by decisions that benefited the Roman people and their allies, strengthening the Republic and maintaining peace. Flamininus used his influence to promote freedom and justice, reflecting his deep conviction in republican values and his aversion to despotism. Flamininus's refusal to accept the throne is a clear demonstration of his political vision and concern for Rome's future. He understood that absolute power corrupts and that the preservation of the Republic required leaders who valued freedom and the common good above their own interests. The legacy of Titus Quinctius Flamininus continues to be a source of inspiration. His life exemplifies the importance of ethical leadership and dedication to public service. In an era of constant power struggles, his reluctance to accept the throne remains a symbol of integrity and commitment to republican ideals. Diocletian's choice: voluntary abdication. Diocletian, one of Rome's most notable emperors, made an unprecedented decision in the empire's history. He voluntarily abdicated. Born into a humble family, Diocletian rose to power after a series of crises that nearly destroyed the empire. His ascension to the throne in AD 284 marked the beginning of a significant reform era known as the Tetrarchy, aimed at stabilizing and reorganizing the vast Roman territory. During his reign, Diocletian implemented numerous administrative, economic, and military reforms that helped restore order to the empire. He divided the government among 4 rulers, creating the Tetrarchy, to better manage the different regions of the empire. This innovation reflected his vision that power should be shared and decentralized to avoid the problems faced by his predecessors. Despite his success, Diocletian never clung to power. In AD 305, he shocked the Roman world by voluntarily abdicating the throne, something no emperor had done before. He retired to his homeland in Dalmatia, where he spent his remaining years in relative peace, dedicating himself to gardening and private life. His abdication was an act of great humility and wisdom, showing that he saw power as a temporary service, not a perpetual right. Diocletian is remembered not only for his reforms and the Tetrarchy, but also for his decision to step down at a time of relative stability. This choice demonstrated his view of leadership as a duty, not an opportunity for personal aggrandizement. His voluntary abdication set a rare and admirable precedent in the history of Roman emperors. Life after Diocletian's abdication was marked by simplicity and distance from political affairs. He maintained his influence and respect but never sought to reclaim power, living peacefully until his death in AD 311. His final decision to leave the throne remains an example of altruistic leadership and long-term vision for the well-being of the empire. Diocletian's legacy is complex and multifaceted, reflecting both his skills as a reformer and his wisdom in recognizing when it was time to step down. His voluntary abdication is one of the most notable acts of self-limitation of power in history, standing out as a lesson in humility and public service for leaders throughout the ages. The reluctance of Servius Sulpicius Galba. Servius Sulpicius Galba, one of Rome's briefest emperors, is known for his reluctance to take the throne during one of the most tumultuous periods in Roman history. Galba, a military veteran and politician, was proclaimed emperor in AD 68, following Nero's death and during the Year of the Four Emperors, a time of great instability and internal conflict. Initially, Galba did not desire the throne. He was a principled man, known for his severity and discipline, and believed his role was to serve the Republic of Rome, not to govern it as an autocratic emperor. However, pressured by his troops and the chaotic circumstances, he ultimately accepted the position, aware of the challenges he would face. His brief reign was marked by attempts to restore order and discipline in a fragmented empire. Galba sought to reform state finances and punish corruption, but his austere and inflexible approach alienated many of his supporters. He was viewed as a stern and uncharismatic leader, unable to inspire the loyalty necessary to maintain power. Galba's reluctance to assume the throne and his inability to navigate the political intrigues of Rome led to his swift downfall. In January AD 69, after just 7 months in power, he was assassinated by his own Praetorian guards, who supported Otho as his successor. Galba's death highlighted the volatility of the period and the difficulty of ruling an empire in crisis. Despite his short and turbulent reign, Galba is remembered for his integrity and genuine desire to serve Rome. His reluctance to accept the throne is seen by some as a sign of his understanding of the challenges and responsibilities of power, something many of his contemporaries overlooked in their quest for authority. Galba's legacy serves as a reminder of the difficulties of leadership in times of crisis and the importance of character and principles in governance. His story is a lesson about the dangers of poorly distributed power and the need for leaders who are truly committed to the welfare of the state, not just their own personal ambitions. The mystery of Pertinax, brief and unwanted. Pertinax, an emperor whose reign lasted only 3 months, stands as one of the clearest examples of a reluctant leader who was forced to accept the throne. The son of a former slave, Pertinax rose through the military and political ranks due to his skill and integrity. He was proclaimed emperor in AD 193, following the assassination of Commodus, during a period of great turbulence and uncertainty for Rome. Pertinax accepted the throne with great reluctance, fully aware of the dangers and responsibilities associated with the position. He attempted immediate reforms to restore order and discipline in the army and correct the excesses of Commodus's regime. However, his straightforward approach and unpopular measures quickly put him at odds with the Praetorian Guard. Pertinax's brief reign was marked by constant tension and resistance from the factions dominating Roman politics. His reluctance to yield to the demands of the Praetorian Guard and other corrupt elements of Roman society led to growing dissatisfaction and conspiracies against him. In March AD 193, just 3 months after his ascension, Pertinax was assassinated by members of the Praetorian Guard. The mystery surrounding Pertinax's brief reign and his premature death reflects the complexities and dangers of ruling Rome during a time of deep instability. His attempt to implement reforms and restore morality and discipline was thwarted by the corrupt forces that dominated the empire. Pertinax is remembered as a well-intentioned emperor who tragically failed to overcome the intrigues that surrounded him. Despite his short time on the throne, Pertinax left a significant mark on Roman history. His reluctance to accept power and his dedication to necessary reforms demonstrate a leader committed to the welfare of the state, but who fell victim to the brutal realities of imperial politics. His story is a reminder of how challenging it was to govern Rome and the fragility of imperial power. Pertinax's legacy is a blend of admiration and tragedy. He is seen as a symbol of integrity and reform during a time of corruption and decline. His premature death highlights the challenges faced by leaders who attempt to bring change to deeply entrenched and corrupt systems. Pertinax remains an example of a reluctant leader who, despite his good intentions, was tragically unable to realize his vision for Rome.